Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming in today. We have a good interview for you today. We have Sanjay, the CEO of Mudflap. I know a lot of you guys are using Mudflap, and thank you for that. And it's always great to know more about the companies we're doing business with. As small business people ourselves, we want to know more. We want to know who we're doing business with, what they're all about, and how we can, form a partnership and I don't know, potentially solve some of the problems that we all have a problem with in this industry. So let me bring Sanjay in here. Hello, sir. Thank you for coming in today.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, boy, where do we even start? I had forgotten that you and I had spoke like 2 years ago when Mudflap was pretty new, and you reminded me of that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So, let's back up a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your background, how you got started in all of these things.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. Happy to do that. So the story starts actually with joining Trucker Bath several years ago.
Oh wow.
Back when back when the Trucker Bath app was first starting to get going. Myself and my co-founder from Mudflop, Sharon, she and I joined Trucker Bath around the same time. We're part of growing that app, and that was the first time we cut our teeth on the trucking industry. Learned so much about the lives of owner operators. Also learned about fuel stops and how that side of the business works as well. As part of those are POIs in the Trucker Bath app, and so that's where it all started for us in terms of really kind of falling in love with the trucking industry and wanting to help solve some of these problems, especially for drivers. And while we were there, we really saw the opportunity to help owner operators in particular with fuel. We saw that in many ways the industry's sort of stacked up for the big and the big, right? You've got the major fuel stop chains, and you've got the large fleets, and those two work
Right.
together. And but we didn't see the same thing for smaller trucking companies, right? Small carriers and independent
Right.
truck stops and small chains, right? And we thought, well, the bigger helping the big, could the smaller and smaller folks on both sides of the industry actually, could we help them connect with each other? And it would be great for both sides, right? To help owner operators, small fleets save more on fuel, and help the independent truck stops and smaller chains that are looking for those new customers but don't necessarily have the resources to go find them, can help them find those customers. And so that was really the genesis around Mudflap. After a really fun run at Trucker Bath and kind of helping scale that product, we decided it was time to set out on our own and start Mudflap.
Interesting. So you're at this point not affiliated with Trucker Path any longer?
No, not at all at this point. Yeah, we learned a lot while we were there. We certainly helped grow that product, but Trucker Bath had different goals, and in particular was interested in products like their truckloads, load board, and so forth. So they were kind of moving in that direction. We really became passionate about helping drivers save, right, and helping them be more competitive with the large fleets they compete with, and felt like the best way to do that was actually to start Mudflap on our own and really go focus on this.
Well, I'm glad you did that. There's there's just a lot I could say about that. People watching now and that are in this industry know that this industry is just chock full of problems. And a lot of times we always say, well, if we would all get together and do this, if we would all get together and do that, if we would unite on this or join together on that and do this, we could solve that other problem. Well, I kind of see this as an opportunity along that lines. So we all have our fuel cards that have been in this industry for forever, and there's fees associated. There's different problems. Well, this is quite different,
Yeah.
and this is our chance to go that other direction and put pressure on the other guys. Mudflap, there's no fees, right?
Yeah.
There's no credit check. There's nothing. It costs nothing to sign up. You download an app and you put some basic information in and you use it. It's just that simple. So this is kind of I'd say against the establishment, right?
That's
We'll
right.
say, well, if we all get together, and shut down all these bad brokerages or don't take their freight. Well, this is kind of that for fuel. We have an opportunity here, and things start small. Mudflap started very small. It's grown a lot over time, and I'd say made a lot of headway in the fuel game here. Can you talk a little bit about the progress from when you started to where you are now? I don't know how, if you give numbers out publicly with the network, or how any of that works.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. It really is sort of bucking the trend, right? Of how the industry has worked for a long time. And yeah, I'll talk, to your point of a different model for fuel, right? We all know for many, many years, for decades, your options were either you're going to pay cash, credit card, debit card, or use a fuel card. And most of the legacy fuel cards weren't really designed to help small carriers, right? They're, again, designed for the fleets to be able to use. And so we felt there had to be a better way. And in the tech world, they use this word friction, right? Which is, there's a lot of friction with the sort of the legacy cards. You got to your point, get credit checked. You've got to go through an application process. You've got to wait for that physical plastic to get shipped to you. And then once it does, it may come with a ton of fees, right? Some of those they're upfront about, and sometimes they're even hidden. And we felt, the nice thing is we were starting from scratch. And so we felt like, okay, if you could start today, blank slate, how would you do it? How could you do it totally differently? And to your point, we said, well, let's make it really easy to get started. Let's make it 30 seconds to go download an app off of Google Play or the App Store. No credit checks and application process, just get you right in there. Use your existing payment method, right? If you've got debit card, credit card, you want to connect a bank account. And I think the biggest thing, as you hit on, was really take the fees out of the equation. Because I think what a lot of owner operators learned over time is that they were using some of the other legacy cards. They were getting discounts, sometimes sometimes low, but at least some discount. But then they were paying it on the other side in fees. And actually, if they did the math, they realized a lot of those savings were actually going right out the door on the other side, right? And so we felt like it was really important to take fees out of the equation on the driver's side, which we have. I think, Adam, to your point, we're proud of the fact that we've never charged a single penny in fees since we started Mudflap, and our goal is to never do that with fuel, right? When it comes to helping drivers. So we took a very different approach there. And to your point, when we first talked a couple of years ago, we started with a handful of truck stop partners in the Midwest. Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri is where we had our first Mudflap partner locations. And today we now have over 1,000 locations that are part of the Mudflap network across the country. Our network started obviously in the Midwest, and that's where the first few hundred Mudflap locations were. And then we started branching out to the coasts from there. And we're continuing to do that. So you'll see more and more locations on the East Coast, the West Coast, the Southeast. We've built out much of the network. We're adding locations there every day. Southwest as well. So there's a lot more locations that we want to add to the network, but now we're north of 1,000 already. And then on the driver side, we've been fortunate enough to have over 500,000 drivers actually download and start using the Mudflap app. Yeah,
that's big. Last I talked to Nastic, and this was a few years ago, they were claiming 98,000 trucks on their network.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this is legit, folks. This is purchasing power. It's only going to get better from here.
It is, and you hit the nail on the head. The I think what we love about the fact that to your point on purchasing power, that as we grow more and more drivers in the Mudflap community, that allows us to be able to go to our partners and continue to get better and better rates, right? Better discounts, better savings, because we've got that group purchasing power. And as more folks join on to Mudflap, that just gets better and better. And we've seen that happen. Some of our partners that have been with us since the early days, they continue to offer better and better prices through Mudflap, because now they're seeing more and more volume come in. Right.
This is true. We see that. So somebody asked for the promo code. I tell you what, I've got it scrolling at the bottom of the screen here. If you go to your app store and download the Mudflap app, or you can go to mudflap.com, use the promo code DIY Semi, all one word, and you'll get $10 in free fuel, and also great discounts. It's couldn't be quicker to set up. You could use it. You could download it and use it for the first time right at the fuel pump, and not waste any time. So
that's
it's
right.
just that easy.
That's right. One little twist I'll mention is the website's actually mudflapinc.com.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yep.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Let me fix that.
So head over there if you want to be able to check out the site, and then there's buttons to be able to go to the App Store, to Google Play from there, or go straight to App Store, Google Play on your phone, and just search Mudflap, and it should pull up the app for you.
There we go.
You can jump right in. Awesome.
All right, we got it.
Yeah. That was quick.
So those people who watch this show know that I can be a curmudgeon resistant to technology sometime. Yeah. This is not one of those times. This is one of the easier, because to me, a lot of times newer things complicate things, right? And I've got a lot to worry about in my mind, a lot to take care of, a lot to remember. And a lot of times I don't like to add new things to complicate it. This is not one of those things. This could not be, if you're my age or older and think I don't mess with this and that and cell phones and that stuff, this couldn't be any more intuitive or easy. It's just very, very simple. If that's coming from me, you know it has to be simple if you watch this program enough, because technology can be difficult for me. But I just got to say this: you couldn't have made it any easier to use, in my opinion.
Appreciate you saying that. We, having been in the industry prior to Mudflap, we knew it was really important to make the app experience as simple as possible, right? And we talked about making it really, really fast to be able to start using Mudflap and saving the first time you get the app. If you download it, add a Mudflap truck stop, you should be able to use it right then and there. And a big part of that is making really simple product to be able to get started with and to be able to use. And I think a key to keeping it simple has been really listening to our drivers. We appreciate it, and you know this, Adam. It's drivers can be a vocal bunch, and we actually love that. We love the fact that they're very open about giving us feedback, telling us things that could be improved. And we take all of that to heart and try to implement those changes as quickly as possible, and just keep making the app better and better to use. And we're still doing that today. It's still something that we focus a lot of time and energy of how can we make it just a little bit simpler than it was yesterday.
Okay. We're getting a lot of great comments in the comment section, guys. I'm not ignoring you. Sanjay has been gracious enough to give us some of his valuable time today. So we'll come back and we'll go through a few comments a little later. I just want to make sure we get everything out here today that we came to talk to you about first, and then we'll do some of that. So you were at Trucker Path, and you had this other idea. Now, being an entrepreneur is scary at times. I know what that's like. And to make that leap of, okay, now we're going to go do this, from conceptualization and you preparing yourself to go do this, and then you make the leap, and then you create this app and launch it. What's the time frame like in that process? Yeah. How long does that take?
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish I could tell you it's a really fast and straightforward process, but it was a very windy road. we had the idea. We thought it could work, but how to actually make it work, that was definitely a path, right? And a journey we went down, and a lot of fits and starts with that. And so, all in, we launched Mudflap in January of 2020. That's when we first went live with the app, with the first few locations there in the Midwest. And we spent most of the previous year of 2019 um, testing different ideas around how the app could work. Obviously, we had to go out there and recruit the first set of partners on the truck stop side to come into the app, and they were coming into something that didn't exist yet, and so that was
That's
right. That
difficult.
yeah,
It's
that
hard to
was
be the first at
that's right.
anything.
Hard, exactly. Hard to be the first, and that was a challenge, which was, hey, we think we can build a great experience for drivers, and you want to be a part of this as a truck stop. And they'd say, well, sounds interesting, show me your app. And there was no app at that time. And so so it was asking them to imagine a little bit. And we really appreciate those early partners that took a bet on us, and we're willing to say, hey, this sounds like it could work, and I'll take a flyer, and be a part of the first few locations on Mudflap. So we spent a good year, really all of 2019, figuring out what the experience should look like, be in the product, recruiting those first partners on, and actually building the first version of the app, and then launched it at the beginning of 2020. There's a funny story. We were actually planning to do kind of a big, loud launch at Matt's, in March of 2020. And you and I know that show never happened, right?
Right.
COVID popped up and the show
Oh
went
yeah,
away.
timing was. Ooh,
Yeah.
man, I didn't think of that. You
Yeah.
overcame some things, man.
We were in
That's some
some
bad
things, right?
timing.
So we're trying to launch a new product. We thought, well, Matt's will be a great place to tell drivers about the app. So that'll be our official kind of public launch. And then we also thought, well, while we're in Louisville, we'll make our way around to talk to a bunch of truck stop partners, right? Potential partners, and meet them face to face, and see if we can get them excited about joining the network. And then pandemic hit, and those plans all kind of went out the window, right? And thankfully, those early partners and those early drivers, which in the early days of the company, myself, Sharon, my co-founder, everyone on the Mudflap team was on our customer support line. Everybody. In fact, she and I, as the co-founders, we were on the customer support line for the first 2 years of the company. If you called in to Mudflap with a question, even late last year, you might have gotten me or her. And we felt like that was really important, because we wanted to be close to our customers, understand what they wanted, what their issues were with the product, again, keep improving it, and just be really closely involved. So that's the approach we took, and we've kind of taken that, from day one.
Yeah, so I mean, that was rough timing, and the fact that you're the founder, you built this thing, and you're on the phone taking people's phone calls. It doesn't get any more grassroots than that.
Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
this was this was not a Wall Street invention, was it? This was
No, this was not. This was not a Wall Street effort. And we knew, our first few hundred customers, we knew them on a first name basis, right? And we knew their stories, we knew where they're from, we knew, where they drove, right? We knew about their pets. I mean, you name it, we got to know them really well. And it was genuine, because we really wanted to understand, is this solving your problem, right?
Mhm.
Are we really helping you? What's the point of doing this if we're not? So that, I think that staying really close to our customers and to our partners on the fuel stop side, it's been really important.
So this is, I mean, 2 years in the first part of a small business, especially in the tech world, is one, it's an eternity, and two, it's very much in its infancy.
Yeah.
So after 2 years, you're 1,000 fuel stops strong. You're 500,000 trucks strong. I'd say that's a pretty good start. It doesn't get any more legit than that. So congratulations on holding it together, because I know what starting a small business is like, especially trying to grow one. So kudos to you on that. So 2 years, we could say it's it's still in its infancy.
Yeah.
There's people that are going to watch this that are saying, okay, you're 20 minutes into this. I still don't know what Mudflap is. So can you give us a quick rundown? what is this Mudflap thing, and
Yeah.
why should people care? So if you could just kind of break that down for us.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So we think after the past couple of years, we've earned the right to say that we've become the number one fuel app in trucking, right? And as a fuel app, our focus is obviously helping our drivers save money every day. And so the way Mudflap works is you can go to Google Play, go to the App Store, download the app for free, and just be able to set up an account in a matter of a minute or two. And the beauty of it is use any existing way to pay that you already have. So if you have a credit card, you have a debit card, or even if you have a bank account that you want to link up, make it easy for you to do that. Like an Uber, an Instacart, or DoorDash app, you can just come in and sort of put that existing payment method into Mudflap. And once you've got that in there, which could take literally all of 2 minutes to set up, you're basically ready to go. So at that point, you can look at the map in the app, and it shows you all of the Mudflap partner locations. As we've talked about, there's about 1,000 of them, and it's growing every day. We're launching new locations all the time. We just launched a few new Maverick locations, for example, in the Rocky Mountain region, and we'll be having more and more Mavericks come on to Mudflap as an example. So that there are always new stops to be able to save, and the app makes it really easy and transparent to see if I use Mudflap to buy as opposed to using a card or paying cash directly. What can I save? So we've got a Mudflap discounted price that you'll see right next to the pump price for that stop at that time, and you can go ahead and know with confidence that if you use Mudflap, you'll get that Mudflap discounted price, right? For whatever you fuel up that day. So you can fuel as much or as little as you want through the app. There's no minimums. You're guaranteed to get that Mudflap discounted price. And the way you do it is we have the notion in the app of a fuel code, and that's just basically a unique code that every time you use Mudflap, you come into the app, you hit a button, you get a fuel code, and that's what you use when you go to the truck stop to be able to fuel. And so you show the code at the fuel desk. They match that code. They've got a Mudflap tablet that's sitting on their side typically, and they say, okay, great. Yep, I see the same code here. Perfect. Let me turn the pump on for you. Go ahead and pump as much fuel as you need, and you're good to go at that point. And then we will go ahead and charge whatever that payment method is: credit card, debit card, bank account. The Mudflap at discounted price times the number of gallons you fueled, right? And not a penny more, back to the point about no fees. So yeah, you know exactly what you're paying based on what you see in the app.
Okay, so can I give out a couple cheat codes real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that, that you
You're
might have
an
forgotten a little bit.
expert.
Okay, first of all,
Absolutely.
the first time you download it, use my promo code DIY Semi. You'll get $10 in free fuel. Be able to use it right away. Now, after that, you can have your own promo code, right? So this will be on your dashboard in the app, and you can have your promo code. So then anybody that you sign up, you can get $10 when you fuel. You get $10, I get $10, and then if you refer somebody, they'll get $10, and then you get $10 when they fuel the first time. And you can also earn some referral points on there when they fuel. Now, also, you earn points. The Mudflap itself has like a rewards point system, so you can accumulate rewards points inside the Mudflap app, and still swipe your rewards card from the truck stop. So it's kind of like getting double rewards points. On top of that, for some further fuel savings here, two hacks we like to do here is, number one, if you link it to your checking account or your bank account, you can save an extra 2 to 3 cents per gallon, right? Is it 2 cents or 3?
Yeah,
I forget.
2. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, 2 cents off the price. That's off the advertised price. Or if you want to get really crazy with it, go out and get yourself the best cashback credit card you can possibly find. Link it to that. A guy that works for me, found himself his bank gave him a promotional 6% cash back. And I did the math on that, and that's like, I'm like,
Wow,
that's an extra 30 some cents a gallon
that's
when
amazing.
you fuel. Now it was
Wow.
a promotional rate, and then it
Yeah,
settled into a lower rate. But I'm like, ooh, if a guy could find a 3 or 4% cash back credit card and link it, that's real extra savings. You're really blowing it out of water then. But I just wanted to add in those quick extra perks there, because when you sit down and add it all up, it really adds up. Did I miss anything?
no, Dave, I think you got it all. There's so
All
many
right.
different,
Well, I might
actually.
need a job someday. I might.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
gonna say to actually hear you run through it, uh, it actually reminded me of just like how many different ways they are to stack right on top one set of savings on another. So we talked about the fact that every single day we go out there and try to push for the absolute best discounts for our drivers, right? And that's what you get in the app when you come into the app, you see that Mudflap discounted price. We've done the best we can with the volume that we have, right? And that's growing to go get that best discount. But then, as you said, you can stack your card rewards on top of that. So if you've got a card that has its own rewards, great. You'll be able to benefit from those as well. And then the referral piece you talked about, and yes, I will endorse. Please use the DIY semi referral code if you hear about Mudflap today and want to give us a
yeah.
try.
Because here's the
We,
things, folks. Trucking's tough. You never know what's going to happen in the economy. I might need a job someday, so I got to make sure that Sanjay here will hire me
that's
should that time come.
yeah, no, that's right. But yeah, I mean, you've been a great ambassador for Mudflap, and so
Well, I use the product, and I feel like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
important.
that's right. That's it. It's so important. And actually, when you've done videos about Mudflap, that's been you. That's been the great part about it is, you were excited to talk about it and share the word
Yeah,
with folks. And, we found out about it after you'd done it, which is always the best kind of surprise.
excellent.
But yeah, being able to stack the referral, so you can come in with a referral code, which saves you $10 right off that first purchase. And then, as we talked about, once you become a customer, you get your own code, and you can share that with your friends, with the other drivers that you know. And if they start using Mudflap, you benefit as well. You get $10 of Mudflap fuel credits in your account for every new customer that starts using the product. So it really does add up. You stack
Yes.
on top of, and then there's no fees coming out the other side. So this is all
hmm
savings. You keep.
Oh, I have to tell you real quick first, guys. These questions are great. We're going to come back to them. So if you guys can hang in there, we're going to come back and go through a couple of these questions here. I just want Sanjay to be able to say everything that we got to say here, because he's been gracious enough to give us his time. Can I tell you a quick story? You
Yeah.
talked about um, fees and such like that and different problems. So some of us I've been trucking a long time, right? And if you've ever had a problem with your fuel card, you know that it can take just forever you could stand at the counter while they're on the phone. Long story short, I fueled in my hometown here a couple weeks ago, and God help me if this is not the truth. I swear that every part of this is true. And I pumped my fuel, and when I came in, I gave him the card, and he ran. I pumped DEF, and he
Okay.
ran the transaction as fuel. I'm like, well, fuel is twice the price of DEF, so we need to fix this. He's like, oh, I got to call that whatever. It's my show. I got to call EFS and sort this out. He called EFS and he had it on speakerphone. And I swear to you, that rep would not talk to us about that fuel transaction until we listened to his sales pitch on medical devices.
Oh no.
He gave us
Really?
a sales pitch on medical devices before he would have anything to do with our fuel transaction. I looked at the guy. I says, "You got to have the wrong number.
Yeah.
This isn't EFS." I said, "Hang up and try again." Did it? Very carefully punched a number. By God, if it was the same thing. I'm like,
Wow.
when did EFS get involved in this, or is this just the agent acting on his own? That is insane.
That's shocking. That
It
is
is.
just
So with Mudflap, if you have a problem,
yeah.
you can call and somebody will answer the phone. If they don't answer the phone, they will call you back very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can text back and forth with them right through the app.
That's right.
And if okay, let me go into the I'll tell you who's working in your office right now, and you tell me if I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in the dashboard. I forget. I haven't had to do this in a long time, so bear with me.
Yeah.
Invite view account notifications. Let me ask a question. It's going to be Natalia.
Natalia. Yeah.
It's going to be Natalia that will answer this question. That's who's working
Natalia's
right now.
in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if there's a live chat right here. So if I want a live chat, it's also going to be Natalia. Natalia must be a hard worker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's who you know who you're going to talk to, and you're going to text back and forth with them.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I've had to do that because occasionally it's not your guys' fault, but occasionally somebody at the fuel stop won't be quite as well trained. And instead of putting in 135 gallons and 25 tenths, they'll put in 1,235 gallons. So then you got to straighten that out. It's not a big deal. It's fixed immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate you mentioning our customer support team, actually. So this was a really important part of since day one, since we started Mudflap, we've had 24/7 customer support. We just felt that was one of the things that we felt the industry didn't do a good job of with some of the older products. It's just, frankly, it's hard to get through. And as you mentioned, sometimes you do get through to them and you might get a complete surprise like you did. Right. And so we felt like with Mudflap, from when we launched, a couple of years ago, we've basically been on 100% of the time ever since. 24/7, 365. You need us on, any holiday. There are real Mudflap people on the other end that are there to help you, and we've viewed it as a 24/7 business because we know for our drivers they're working a 24/7 business, right? And so
yes,
so it was important to be able to match them and be there on that end. Always US based team, which was a really important thing for us.
Bravo on that one, sir. Bravo on that one.
From day one, I think, no knock on this approach, but some companies, whether it's to save a buck or just other reasons, will sort of offshore customer support. For us, it's been really important to just have it be, our team's all here in the US. And a big part of that's been they live where our customers are, right? And we felt like that was really important. If they were going to talk to a driver about, often we'll get questions about, can I use Mudflap in this area? What's going on with this truck stop? And we wanted our team to actually be there, to not be guessing, but actually to live there, right? And know the area. And so we've maintained that all the way through, even as that team has grown. Really felt like that was important.
Yes, we've been dealing with that a great deal in the trucking industry, the outsourcing thing. A lot of brokerages are doing that now, and it is very much a problem because there's no problems can get solved. Everything has to wait, and it's very complicated. So I certainly appreciate that. Okay, Mudflap, this is different. We've established this different. When you were setting this up, were there things in the back of your mind where you're like, okay, I'm aware of these issues in the fuel card and fuel purchase industry. I want to do things differently. What are some of the issues that you wanted to address or do differently from everybody else when you were conceptualizing this, or was it just purely to get better pricing for people?
Yeah, I think pricing certainly was the most important thing that we were trying to solve, but and not just pricing, but really being able to get what we think of as like net savings, to actually save when it's all said and done, right? And the fee part, taking the fee part out of it was a really important piece of that puzzle. Best discounts along with zero fees, right? That combination. But I think another part about it was frankly what we think of as our driver experience, right? And that's the support experience, that's the app experience. We felt like we had heard so much about other products being a hassle, right? To either deal with the company, to use the product, things breaking and there being sort of no one to be able to help them get it fixed. And we felt like that was just as important, frankly, is to make sure that the experience was the best possible experience. Now, we're not perfect. We know that there's certainly areas where we can continue to make that better and better. But that was always a goal for us, which was, hey, when folks think of fuel cards, they think of hassle, right? Quite frankly, and often, and could we change that, right? Could we think if we're going to be the number one fuel app, could we take a very different approach to the experience, right, that we're delivering to customers?
Okay. Well, I was going to ask kind of what are some challenges that you faced as a company, but I think
Yeah,
you addressed a lot of those already. So
yeah,
we're just going to kind of go past that one. And
yeah.
what is okay? We're 2 years into this. If you look down the road next year, 5 years, 10 years, what's your vision? You're the founder here. What's
Yeah.
your vision for the company? Where do you want to? Where are you trying to take this?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. You know, as co-founder of the company, I think that this there's two really big things that we're excited about the second half of this year. One is continuing to just add more locations to the map and really get that full coverage across all of the lower 48, right? We've made progress on that over the past couple of years, but as I mentioned, there's still regions where there need to be more Mudflap locations, and we're focused on putting those on the map and making sure that Mudflap's there for you anywhere you're going to be, right? And so that's number one. We have a goal at the company of by the end of this year, we want to have that full national coverage.
Okay.
And then another big initiative for us, and you touched on this earlier, is, and we know a lot of our drivers, the idea of around being able to buy DEF, for example, along with their diesel to purchase. There's just convenience to that, right? Versus
Yeah.
having to do two separate purchases. And so the ability to be able to support buying your DEF with Mudflap along with buying your diesel, we think that's, we've known for a while that that's important. And in the second half of the year, we're going to make that happen, right? We're going to,
Excellent.
we're going to provide that
Okay.
support. And then I'd say as we think about the vision for kind of what we could do beyond that, I'd say the one big area that we're thinking a lot about is how could we help our customers outside of fuel, right? So let's say you can get your diesel to and DEF at the best possible prices across the country through Mudflap, right? That's what we want to try and accomplish this year. What else can we do, right? Can we help you save on other major expenses involved with your trucking business, right? Outside of your fuel line item.
Hmm.
And that could be other things that you buy and purchase at a truck stop, right? That we might be able to get you savings on, or that might even be things outside of the truck stop experience, right? That are categories of spend where we might be able to help you save. I think we've proven that we can do a good job of helping drivers save money, and we're thinking about what other ways can we do that. And we're really open to getting feedback, right?
Yeah, I
Even
would
you
be
may,
happy to have some
yeah,
conversations with you on that,
yeah,
privately to just give some back, feedback on that.
yeah,
So let's jump ahead just a little bit here because you answered a couple questions here. One, several people were asking about DEF. You said, second half of this year, working on that. One of the biggest pieces of feedback I get, somebody will download the app and say, well, there's hardly any stops on the Northeast, Southeast, Mid,
yeah,
West Coast. Okay, what, walk us through a little bit of the process of adding a fuel stop. You have a sales team that goes out and sells as people come to you. How hard is that process? And what does it all entail?
yeah, yeah. Great question. So we've talked a lot about the driver side of Mudflap, which is it's our core, but Mudflap doesn't work and doesn't exist if we don't have a really strong network of partners right on the fuel stop side. And um, so in terms of how we've gone about that, I'd say there's three different ways that we end up adding new locations to Mudflap. Our favorite way, and I'll start with that, is actually from drivers telling us. So we've from the very early days, if you want the secret around, we started with about 50 locations and grew from there. And if you want a secret around, well, how did you figure out where to go after those 50? And the answer is actually from drivers, right? We would get a lot of feedback around, hey, how about here? How about there? I need something here. And we still do to this day. Every single request that comes in, what I can guarantee you is that that feedback is looked at. We may not be able to deliver that location, right? There's a bunch of reasons why someone might not be a fit for the Mudflap network, and so we might not be able to get them on. But anytime a driver mentions it on a call, sends it in via chat message and email, we're actually looking to add a feature in the app. So you'll be able to actually, let's say you're on the map in an area where we need to add coverage and you want to stop there to make it easy for you to be able to even tell us right through the product. So that feedback that's the most important thing. And that's what leads us in terms of where we've added locations over time. We still collect that. Second thing is we do have a team that goes out and that reaches out to new potential partners and says, hey, we're getting a lot of feedback from our drivers that they'd love to see you on Mudflap, and we'd like to introduce ourselves and see if you're a fit. And so we have a team that's dedicated to doing that every day, and they help us bring new locations in as well. And then the last one, we talked about drivers referring drivers to Mudflap. We've also seen that on the truck stop side. So a lot of our truck stops that have come onto Mudflap, it's because a buddy of theirs who's an owner in a different part of the country mentions Mudflap to them. So he's got 5 stops in Oklahoma, and he's got a buddy in Texas that has 3 stops, and he tells him about Mudflap, and then he reaches out to us and says, hey, I heard about you through my friend that's already on the network. So referral helps even on the truck stop side.
Okay, I was going to ask kind of what, if we want things to get better for ourselves, better discounts and so forth, what can we do to help promote that? And I guess the thing would be is to, number one, tell you about it. Number two, would it hurt this if you were interested in a place? Would it hurt to go to management and say, hey, have you guys ever considered getting in the Mudflap location here? And then maybe just say how to contact you, or
absolutely, yeah, no, that we love it when drivers have done that, and that's happened a lot. I've actually fielded calls in the past where one of our drivers calls in and says, hey, I literally have the owner here on speaker. And
okay,
right, and I've gone to him and I've said, hey, he should be on Mudflap and he's interested, and I've got him on speakerphone. Can you talk to him? Right. And so we love it when we can get that kind of referral, from our driver community, and we follow up, on that. And again, if they're a good fit, we'd love to have those folks join. So absolutely, I think going to management, if there are locations that you love to go to and you think could be a good fit for Mudflap, absolutely feel free to go to management. And quite often, if it's a good management team, they will reach out to us, right? They will say, oh yeah, this is interesting. I'm going to follow up.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I've not done that as of yet, but we'll definitely start doing that. So I don't know how much you care to talk about. You let a couple things out of the bag. Any big plans here for the future? Anything you're working on? I know a while back we had received an email about a card, a Mudflap card to start the pump. What is there any progress on that, or any other new things like that you're working on?
We're always working on. Here's how we sort of think about it. There's a set of things that we know would be helpful to do tomorrow, right? And that's that bucket that we're sort of immediate benefits that we could provide to drivers. We've always got a set of things like that, and then we've got a set of things that are more longer term, right? That are going to take more time to build, and so forth. We've heard, going all the way back to when we started a couple of years ago, I think from day one we've heard. So it's interesting. some drivers in the community say, "Hey, we love the app. App's great. I'm used to it now, and it works perfectly for me." And we don't hear a peep about the interest in a card, but we know there are also some drivers in the community that say, "Hey, the convenience of being able to roll up to the pump, swipe a card, and be on my way would be great." And can you provide that in addition to the app? So we're definitely looking closely at figuring out how to do that and do that the right way. I think that's the biggest thing for us, because we have over 1,000 locations already on Mudflap. We've got our Mudflap tablets at all these places. We have the app working. For us to be able to roll out a card is a little bit different, right, than someone to start from scratch. Yeah.
I actually probably am the only one that would disagree with having a card, and let me tell you why.
Interesting. Okay.
We didn't get having a card is part of what is a problem with the other fuel purchasing networks, right? I'm familiar with the Trendar. You know about the Trendar
Yes,
network.
yes.
It's the process that these fuel cards have to go through to get processed, and then the fuel stop to get paid.
Yeah.
Well, not having a card is kind of how different about Mudflap, and it's how we got here, and it's part of the no fees. I kind of feel like if we start introducing a card, you're almost forced to go through the Trendar network for it's either credit card or Trendar, and then are we getting back into the position where eventually there's going to be a fee involved for that, because there's potentially no way around it. I'm sure you probably know that from a tech side, right?
Yeah.
If we want to keep it as a contrarian thing to the bigger processing clearinghouses and stuff, I'm kind of in favor of keeping it this way. And that's probably not a popular opinion, and I don't know that anybody else would even agree with me, but it might be. I kind of feel like maybe it would be a step back around in the wrong direction, and then pretty soon we're just kind of like everybody else.
Yeah. It's really interesting to hear you say that, because here's what I can tell you. First off, you're not alone.
Okay.
I think you're definitely onto something, and we hear that too, which is, hey, the world's moving towards app, right, and away from things like physical cards. And Mudflap, you're already there. You're helping us, step into that new world from a tech perspective, and there's even more we could do, right, on that front. And so, card feels like the old way, you're the new way, right, and keep doing that. So we hear that, but I think your comments are savvy around with plastic cards. Typically, you have to run that card across someone's network to be able to process it.
Yeah, and then you owe them money.
And that's when you owe them money. They're going to hit you with fees, and then those fees have to be passed on somehow, right? And so,
just a spitball and something. One of the new things with one of the in-house cards at one of the fuel stops is I don't know if it's RFID or what it is, but they have something you can put in your windshield when you pull up to the pump. Maybe that RFID can get processed over their Wi-Fi to the tablet.
Yeah.
Then you're back to that no fee situation.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, a good friend of mine is going through something here, and I'm going to look more into this because there might be something that people need to know behind this after going through this. A good friend of mine has a one of the big fuel cards. I don't know which one it is, so I'm not going to say, but he encountered a card skimmer. It was inside the pump at the fuel stop. It wasn't outside.
Wow.
He used it. He fueled there. Well, obviously they grabbed his information off the card, and over the course of the next few days ran up $8,000 in charges.
Wow.
Now he's still. It's been at this point I think 71 days. So we talked about this a couple days ago, and this is not resolved. So I'm questioning. Obviously, EFS, Comdata, TCH, these other networks are not linked through like Visa, MasterCard. Some of them might be, but I want to know more about the fraud protection on some of these fuel cards.
Yeah.
Now, with yours, you link it to a MasterCard, Visa. I would automatically assume that you have the fraud protection of Visa and MasterCard to go with that.
We do. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
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 He may not get his money back. They are giving him a heck of a time. That
Really.
was his money. He was going to buy a trailer. That was his down payment for a trailer. And he
Wow.
has since, and his savings, he has since had to, I mean, they've taken that money from his bank account.
That's right.
And he has since had to find something else to do because it pretty much ruined his whole business plan.
Wow. Yeah. It's so you're right in that we benefit from the fact that these card networks, the Visas, the MasterCards, the Amexes, Discovers, they've been building fraud protections for 30, 40 years, right? And so they've got that down to a science. And we're able to benefit from that. When you put your card into Mudflap, we're able to take advantage, right, of all those protections that they have, that they've built in. And to your point, if you swipe a traditional fuel card, it's not running across those networks. It doesn't benefit from those fraud protections. And things like skimmers and so forth can absolutely pick it up, right? And so, yeah, there are a bunch of challenges there. I think that, it's interesting. Question for you: we hear from some of our fuel stop partners that they're also seeing just drivers, right, with fuel prices going up and more pressure on their business, um, drivers resorting to, I'm gonna do some fraudulent stuff with my fuel card, right? I'm gonna fill up my personal vehicle. I'm gonna get my buddy
Yes.
filled up on my card, right? As long as right, and my fleet owner is gonna cover me, who he's supposed to, but then cover my buddy who he's never met, that kind of stuff. And that always, more of that starts happening at times like this, right? Where it's harder than ever because of just where fuel prices are. Just curious if you're seeing or hearing more of that.
Yeah. A friend of mine here, Cassius King, does something called Trucker News. And one of the news stories one day was this guy. He somehow spoofed his fuel card or made a fuel card that would turn on the pump and then it wouldn't record the actual number of gallons he was pumping. So
Wow.
he came
Yeah.
in with a pickup truck and a trailer, an enclosed trailer. And inside that trailer, he rigged up a bladder system. So as he filled his truck, it would pump it back into the bladder and he would
Wow.
steal thousands of gallons at a time. Now, the fuel stop couldn't figure out what the heck was going on because they couldn't
Yeah.
even see where this went, what pump.
Yeah.
The only way they caught him is, I don't know if it was the police or whoever was there investigating one day, and the guy was pumping at the pump next to him.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was acting all nervous and a little sketchy, and they decided to talk to him. That's the only way they caught him. They may
Wow.
have never caught him, and he was taking like 1,000 gallons at a crack, and the pump did not register that he pumped that much. The only way they knew
Yeah.
is because the tanks were low.
The tanks
They're
were low.
missing. They're
Yeah.
missing fuel.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of shenanigans going on. So a guy's got to be just on top of it with fraud. There's fraud in every area of trucking right now. It doesn't pertain to you. There's people selling loads, stealing other people's identities. There's identity theft going on with brokerages.
Wow.
There's all kinds of things going on right now. So yeah, I mean, to stay off the traditional networks might be a real positive
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
this point, because yours is pretty secure.
Yeah.
There is no swiping of a card, so somebody can't, clone your card or your
That's right.
chip in your card.
That's right.
And I
That's
kind of
right.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we like the system we have going. I think we're always looking for always looking for ways to add more convenience. And so that's the part that we keep thinking about is, how can we make it more convenient? How can we make it faster and easier to use Mudflap, but still keep it secure and frankly, keep some of the things about it that are special, right? That are just
Yeah.
different from how others work.
Yeah, I think you'll figure it out. You guys are really good with that, with your background. I mean, you'll make it happen. Can I ask you a little bit about a feature that came out that I don't know anything about, and I really should? And that's
Sure.
the fleet fueling. So you can have
Uh-huh.
a
Sure.
company. So how
Yeah.
how does that work? I should know more about that, but I apologize that I don't. Can you tell
Yeah.
me about that?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely happy to talk about that. So recently we added the ability for for small fleets to be able to come in and more easily set themselves up with
Okay.
Mudflap. So since day one of the app, as you know, the app was really built for owner operators, right? And everything about it sort of built around you and your direct relationship with the app. Quickly though, all the way back to 2020, we had fleets come in, right, and say, hey, um, I've got 7 trucks. I'd love for all 7 trucks to use Mudflap, and then I can save, times 7, right? And so we've always had the ability, if you called into our customer support, let's say as a fleet owner, for us to be able to link accounts. That's something that we've had from the very early days of Mudflap. So 7 drivers, each of them has the app, 7 different accounts, but in the back end, we have the ability to connect those into like one fleet account.
So the payment could come out of the one central account
That's
instead of
right.
each individual Okay.
Exactly right. So fleet owner comes in and says, I'm going to put down one card, and all 7 of these drivers, that'll be their payment method. And we've been able to support that, for the past couple of years. What we've launched recently is now the ability for fleet owners to do some of that on their own, right? So as opposed to having to contact our support team, to be able to come in and tell us, hey, I've got 7 trucks. I'd like all of these drivers to be able to fuel off of this one payment method, and provide that information themselves. And then it's just easier, faster for us to be able to set it up, on the back end. So
Makes
it's the
sense.
first step towards starting to help smaller fleets be able to use Mudflap more easily. Just provide convenience for that fleet owner and their drivers too, right? Sometimes with these small fleets, you've got a driver who's trying to fuel with Mudflap. The app saying, hey, your card, we can't run your card. It's not his card, it's the fleet owner's card. He has no idea that the fleet owner's maxed out his card. And so, so he's calling the fleet owner, and we're sorting it all out. And so this would just make it easier, right? To be able to see exactly what's happening when you're a small fleet.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. And this really is something that started for the small guy. The barrier, if you're over the last couple of years, I don't know if you're aware of, in the trucking industry, we've had a record number of new authority entrants. Are
Yeah.
you aware of that?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
to start with your own authority can cost a significant amount of money with your permits and insurance and equipment. And you need, if you go with traditional fuel card, you need a line of credit for fuel, and it just mounts. It can add up. So if you're the kind of guy starting, and you might not have credit available by the time you go through all that. So if you're starting that way, or a lot of these people were new to this country.
Yeah.
You don't come here with a $10,000 fuel credit line,
Right.
brand new to this country.
Right.
And maybe some people don't believe in credit. So I mean, this is a great way to get started if you're in that situation.
Yeah.
And
It
I
really
think that
is.
it really helps in that manner.
It is. No, you're so right. I mean, I think you touched on several different ways where a driver that deserves the credit may have a really hard time getting it, right?
Yeah, I know people that have been turned down for credit
Yeah.
lines with the major fuel cards.
Yeah. And to your point, some folks just, it's their personal philosophy of, I don't buy on credit. I don't therefore I don't spend time kind of building a credit history, but they're good for it, right? They always pay on time, but they just don't believe in kind of building out that side of their business. And if they're going to traditional fuel cards, they're going to get rejected, right? Because the fuel card's going to go up. I ran your credit history. I don't see anything here, therefore I can't trust you, right? Or to your point of immigrants that are newer to the country, they just don't have a history.
You've never even filed a tax return here yet. We're not going to give you money.
And so it's the same thing. I'm just, I'm not willing to trust you because I don't have the traditional credit history to look at. And so those are all folks that.
If you don't have that credit history, they deem you not worthy of having it. Therefore, you have to pay $1 per more at the pump. Well, that's ridiculous. You're no less of a person not having a good credit rating or whatever you may have against you. you're no less worthy of receiving good fuel discounts. And this would be, I believe it would be the best fuel discounts you could get.
That's right.
Being in that situation.
That's absolutely right. And we see it too when we look at our driver community. We have a lot of folks from those backgrounds, right? Whether it's I've always been a cash person, but I still want to save, right? And or I'm new to the industry, new to the country, but I still want to save, and so it's great for us to be able to help folks that are coming into the industry from those different backgrounds, and they can get the same savings that everyone else does, right?
Yeah. Boy, I tell you what, you have answered an awful lot of questions here today, and I appreciate it. I didn't even read most of my questions, and you answered them already, so I certainly appreciate that. And by the way, I haven't tried, but I guarantee you that the CEO of EFS or ComData would never give you guys an hour on my show. So we really appreciate you doing that. Do you mind if I just read off a few questions here that people have asked? We've had some really good ones here.
Sure. Absolutely. No, this has been great. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, happy to see if there are any more questions I can answer.
A lot of people are saying, I love it. I use it. This is I love Mudflap. I even use it versus my ComData card. So okay, the process, you have absolutely nothing to do with fuel pricing, any of that. So it doesn't even pay. But does Mudflap benefit or not benefit one way or the other when fuel goes up or down? Is that has nothing to do with you, right? You're a payment processing system. That's the gist of it, right?
That is the gist of it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You got it. So we wish we could bring down the overall price of fuel, but
right. The fuel stops themselves set the price, right?
That's right. The fuel stops themselves set the price, and frankly, to be fair to our fuel stop partners, even they don't have a lot, especially with we've got a lot of independents, right, and mom and pops in the Mudflap network. They don't have a lot of control either, because at the end of the day, it's what's happening globally that sort of sets what's the price of diesel today, right? And it's a commodity that every single day there's a price for crude diesel, and that sets the market. And then
we don't want to get into that too much because people have very strong beliefs on that, and they're very different. So we'll just leave it at that. Yeah. The stops set their own price based on how badly they want to bring you in that day.
That's right.
And competing with other stops. And Paul kind of asked something similar to that. How can a fuel stop offer such a big discount? My understanding the profits on fuel is pennies, or am I just naive with what I've been told? No, Paul, sometimes it's pennies, sometimes it's large. You have wholesale price, and then you have pump price, and you have that margin in between. Sometimes that margin is this big, sometimes it's right down here.
That's exactly
about a month ago, it was about this big, right? Now we've tightened up, so the discounts aren't as good. That doesn't mean they're not giving you. They're keeping more for themselves. It just means the margin has narrowed between wholesale and pump price. Now, also, fuel sometimes is just something to get you in the door, and they make money on other things. They want you to shop in the convenience store. They want you to take advantage of their services. So there's a lot that plays into it, and sometimes it's how bad do I want to have a price competition with the guy down the road?
That's right.
That has nothing to do with us. It's the fuel stop makes their own decisions. Mark Ely says that he loves it when he calls and a human answers the phone. Where is your main office? What state?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we actually because we started the company, as we talked about, kind of right around the early 2020 pandemic period of time, we adopted this idea of like we'll hire the best people we can find wherever they are. And so
you could say you're decentralized,
we're very decentralized. We're a distributed team all across the country. I think there are Mudflap team members in over 20 states at this point. Okay. So pretty much wherever you are, there's probably some Mudflap team members close to you. And so we actually really don't have a headquarters in a traditional sense, right? Because we've got sort of team members literally scattered across the country.
Okay, it's fair enough. RBK wants to know. Okay, we talked about this a little bit about security and things. What does Mudflap do to ensure, like when I give them my credit card or information, what's your security protocol?
Yeah, yeah. So we take back to our earlier conversation about leveraging the security that Visa, Mastercard, Amex, Discovers have put in place, and even with the folks that have linked bank accounts with us, we take security very, very seriously because we know it's our driver's money on the line, right? And there's nothing more important to us than making sure that we do right by them to make it 100% secure. We've as a result, we don't just rely on the security that comes with, let's say, those cards, or if you connect your bank has security. We don't just rely on that. We wrap, not to get super technical here, but basically there's the notion of encryption, right? And so what we do is we encrypt all of the information from your login info, right? Your sort of username and password to get into your Mudflap account, to certainly all of your payment method information. It's all encrypted. So what that means is we can't actually see it. If you ask me, hey, can you look up my payment method and tell me, read off the numbers on my card, I actually couldn't do it because it's all encrypted in our system. So that's how we make sure that there's as much security as possible. And then if we see that there's anything that doesn't seem right, we have alerts in our system, right? That sort of flag stuff proactively, and we jump on it right away to figure out, hey, something here doesn't look quite right. What's happening?
Okay, I know he was mentioning there was some kind of something happened a while back, but you did reissue and return everything, and restore people's, I guess, referrals disappeared or something, and he said you got it all restored, so that's awesome. Let's see here. Just scrolling here. Okay, so a friend of mine here, Cassius King Trucking, he's in the chat, and we both promote the product, and we like to joke back and forth, that, hey, use my promo code because you get the better discount. So just to set the record straight, regardless of whose promo code you use, you get the same discounts, right?
You do.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that if you use mine, you'll get the best discounts they have to offer, but I'm not saying that you won't either.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. We all promo codes get treated equally.
Yeah.
You benefit regardless. That Cassius King, well, he'll have his chance too. So
yeah. Here's something. As far as like things in the future, Marco says, could you set up something where we can put reviews on the app?
Yeah, Marco, glad you asked, because I mentioned where we were before Mudflap, and obviously things like reviews you can find in other apps. And so this is something that we're really interested to hear if it's of value, and let me explain why I say that. Because folks would typically say, well, of course reviews are valuable. It can help me understand, should I go to stop A or stop B?
Sometimes they can be catty though too.
But yeah, and I guess the thing we're trying to figure out is, can we build a review system where it's actually useful, right? Because what you see on some of the other apps is typically it's the folks that had a negative experience that are ones that make the effort to actually put the review in. And then everybody's got 2 stars, and then the system isn't very useful because it's like, well, all the everybody on who's a 2-star, it doesn't help me much. So we're trying to figure out what's a review system or a rating system that's actually going to be helpful, right, to our drivers. But we like the idea.
Something popped into my head that I'm totally surprised that it came to mind. You're familiar with the concept of crypto, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of one called Steam?
Yes, I have.
Do you know how Steam works?
I've heard about it, but I don't know the details.
The concept is if you're a contributor, or you do things of value on Steam, then your rating, or your value weights more heavily
Okay.
than
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't. So I
Yeah.
wonder if that's a concept that could be put into play here, where if you engage in the system more, that your ratings might carry a little bit more weight.
I think that's a really interesting idea. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
no idea. Hey, how it's done? Don't ask me. It's all
Yeah.
wizardry, as far as I'm concerned.
Come knocking on your door to build the algorithm.
Yeah, I do have some ideas, but then I can have absolutely no idea how to do it. um,
It's a good idea. Yeah.
RBK says he loves the feature that they will honor your fuel code for up to 24 hours. How can you do that? Does is it the fuel stop agreeing to honor it, or is it you guys?
It's us. It's us. I mean, to be perfectly honest, some of our partners don't love this feature, but we know our drivers do, and that's why we've kept it, and we will keep it. Which is, especially when the prices can move, right? And they've been
Right.
so volatile the last few months. The idea here, what we're talking about here is, when you get your fuel code, we guarantee that price or better, actually, right? So if you get your fuel code, let's say at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's a couple hours before you fuel, so you go fuel at noon, and let's say that the Mudflap price has actually come down, right? So let's say you got your code at 450, but now the app's showing 445. We'll automatically give you that 445, right?
Okay.
But then if the opposite happens, right? You get the code at 450 a gallon, and let's say prices go up, and now the Mudflap price is 470. We'll still honor that 450, right? We'll always give you the lower price, and we honor that code for a 24-hour period at the moment. And we do that because we think it's the right thing to do for drivers. On the fuel stops they don't want to be on the line to honor that. But so if the price actually goes up, we cover it basically. Mudflap takes that on our end and says, hey,
Wow.
this is what we promised our driver, and we're going to cover the difference.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Just Trucking wants to know, will Quick Trip with the Q be added to the network? Well, first of all, thank you for adding the Quick Trip system with the K.
Yeah.
Drivers, we love the Quick Trip with the K network. So thank you for that. That's
Yeah.
one of the best networks out there. Just Trucking, you could send in a suggestion
Yeah.
to Mudflap, or maybe approach now in a big chain system. Do you have to approach the corporate structure, or do you go to each individual stop?
Yeah, great question. Typically, we have to go to the corporate
Okay.
and get the corporate to first. The corporate's got to agree that they want to be part of the network, and then once they agree, then they push it out to the individual locations. That's how most of them work. And so yeah, Quick Trip with a Q, definitely on our radar. We know that they actually, they can be aggressive in terms of retail price, and so with the Mudflap discount layered on top of that, it could be really good savings. So that we're in conversations with them to see if we can get them on board. As you know, anytime you're dealing with a big corporation, things can just take time, to get done.
Okay. Now, this is a question of the day, and you're not obligated to answer this. I know there's privacy and stuff, but truckers are always concerned that somebody else is getting one over on them or making too much money off of their backs. So, if Mudflap is free, how do you make your money?
Yeah, great question. So one thing, certainly folks that use Mudflap, I'm sure have noticed, is there's some apps that sort of jam ads into their product, right? And
Trucker Path has gotten kind of bad that way.
Has become known for that. Yeah. We've never done it, right? We've never run a single ad through Mudflap. I hope, you never say never, but I hope we never do. And so our business model, and then we also talked about the fact that we've never charged a penny of fees to drivers, right? So those are two things that we've held firm on. So our business model at the end of the day, we've got to be a sustainable business, right? So that we can keep serving
Yeah,
our
you have
growing
people,
community.
employees, and
Yeah,
families that
we have
depend on you.
employees.
Every business, nobody should be mad at that.
That's right. That's right. And the other part about it is being around for the long run, right? We want to be here next year and the year after, and keep helping our customers save. So so our model is actually is working with our fuel stop partners, and essentially, if we're able to drive them new customers and new volume, that's when we benefit, right? So essentially,
Okay.
we get a commission from the truck stop side of the business, and the driver side, we've said, hey, we don't monetize that at all. We're going to do it with the truck stop side.
I don't see how anybody could have a problem with that. That's probably shortchanging you guys a little bit. I mean, honestly.
It's a different approach, as you know. The traditional cards, they charge both sides, right? They charge the
and
truck
and a lot
stops.
of times they will take a portion of
Yeah,
the discount.
yeah.
So
So they'll play all sides. We felt like it was really important to just do everything we could on one side, and then our partners, frankly, they're happy to help us right on the business model side, because they're seeing the benefits, right? They're seeing the customers come in.
Well, I thank you so much for answering that. I think that answer, probably put a lot of people at ease of are they selling my information? Is this, is that how we're doing this? But that's not the case.
Yeah.
Okay. So Alexander is concerned. He says, for my experience, shower and parking points are very important.
Yeah.
You still swipe your chain. So if you go to an Ambest, you still swipe that Ambest points card.
That's right.
You're still getting your points in your showers and your parking. So you're not losing out on any of that. In fact, you're getting a little more, because you're getting a rewards point system through Mudflap also.
That's right. That's right. And let us know if you ever run into an issue where that's not happening. Reach out to Mudflap customer support immediately, because I think because that's exactly how it's supposed to happen. If you got an MBUX card, or any other card, right? Quick Trip, Casey's, whatever the case may be, whatever that program is, you should get all of those benefits that you're entitled to, along with your Mudflap discount. It's not either or.
Okay. I can tell we're winding down here, because it's just come full circle. This Striking Life says Mudflap should sell those mesh mud flaps on the side to save you money. So how about a Mudflap branded Mudflap?
A Mudflap branded Mudflap. Yeah.
Be good promotion.
Well, yeah. I mean, tell us if you want it. I think, if there's a lot of interest and demand for it, we'll give it a strong look. But one of the things I'm excited about is Mudflap trucker hats. So,
ooh,
shocking but true statement I'll make, which is, first couple of years of the company, we didn't have any, and we just started. We just did our first run of Mudflap hats, and hopefully, there's some folks in the audience that might have even gotten one. We ran a promotion to start to give those out, but we're going to be getting more and more hats, in the hands of our drivers, and and doing more than just hats. But we're excited to start to have some merchandise as well that we can get out to folks. So.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if I had one, I'd be wearing it right now.
Yeah, I know. That's right. We got to get you at the
end. Okay, well, let me just see if there's any more pertinent questions here. We had a lot of great comments, a lot of complimentary ones here. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and use it. If we want, like other things that we talk about, if we want things to get better for ourselves and have things the way we want them, when an option is presented like that, patronize it, right? Like Sanjay said earlier, is everything perfect? Absolutely nothing is perfect anywhere, and you don't start at the finish line. This is 2 years in. Look how big the network has gotten from 2 years ago, and I know what it was because I was on it, to now. My gosh, so, in the next 2 years, we keep building outwards, and pretty soon, everybody's going to have those fuel stops where you want them, and there you go. I mean, that's what we wanted, right? So I can't thank you enough for doing this today, and we all certainly appreciate it. Is there anything you want to leave us with here? You want to promote or talk about? Put any information out there?
I would just say I had a blast. I had a lot of fun. The
Good.
questions were great, and I'm just glad that this hopefully will reach some folks that maybe had heard of Mudflap but weren't quite clear how it worked or what it was, and hopefully help those folks discover what we're doing. And as DOI, as you've said so well, the more folks that are able to benefit from it, it actually helps everybody, right?
It does.
Because that's the beauty of it. And so we hope we found some new folks today that that can take advantage.
This is one of those things we're always saying it. Well, if we all got together and did this and did that, this is something you can actually do.
Yeah.
Right. And it takes time. It'll happen. Oh, let me ask you finally before we go. Last month there was a promotion. If you sign up 4 new people and they do their first fueling, you get a free backpack. So just wondering, when can I expect my backpack? Is it in the mail? Cash is king here. He should be getting one. We're just looking for some backpack information.
Yeah, Cash. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, backpacks are in the mail. And I think they're pretty cool. I think they're pretty fancy backpacks. So I think folks will be excited when they get them. And they should be on their way out. Like I said, hats.
I'll have to do my first unboxing video.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's right.
that.
That's right. Hats starting to come out. Backpacks starting to come out. We'll have more stuff that'll start to come out soon as well. So yeah, we're excited to see the Mudflap gear out there in the wild. Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for coming in today. Share this video out. Maybe we'll grow this thing yet and have some good results. Sanjay, if you could just hold in there for a second, I'll talk to you for a minute. But everybody else, thanks for coming in and have a wonderful day.